Cork. I am a wife, a mother. I'm a parishioner at Sacred Heart Catholic Church in Texarkana, Texas, and I'm also an artist. My experience with art is very broad. I spent 8 years as an art teacher, which means you have to be good at pretty much everything so that you can teach it. My first passion, however, is clay. Whatever can be done with clay, that's what I love to do. So most people think of pottery first. Pottery is definitely something that I work in. The image of God as a potter, I think, is something that pretty much anyone who works with clay that has that spiritual heart, they always see that. For me, I think I go a step past that, where for me personally, I feel as if everything I make is inspired, that I'm almost only a co-creator. There was a time in my life where my art it didn't really have a direction, and I had this wonderful dream one night and just knew that I had to take a different direction with my art, and that it had to have a spirituality about it, that it had to reflect who I was as a Catholic, so that when people saw what it was I was making, they knew that it was a Catholic artist, just by the imagery that it involved. A lot of what I sell, though, are rosary mugs and prayer jars. And the prayer jars have been very, very popular. To me, the prayer jars and the rosary mugs are they're kind of a contemporary sacramental, if you will. It's a way to encourage people to pray for others. Constantly be mindful, be present with God, with everything that they touch, whether it's that morning cup of coffee and knowing that each one of those beads is a Hail Mary, that there's an Our Father on the cross, or taking the moment to write down the name of somebody that you really need to pray for and remember. Because so often we tell people we're gonna pray for them, and 3 days later we've forgotten, and you're like, oh my, I have to pray for so-and-so, I hope they're still okay. So back when I was in grade school, I went to a Catholic grade school, and at Lent, as you got older, it wasn't enough just to give up candy or give up hitting your brother. You had to do something that was mindful and be proactive in your faith. And so the sisters would have us pick someone who for 40 days we promised to pray for. We wrote those names down, put them in a little envelope, put it in front of the statue of Jesus. You could not get to class unless you walked past that statue. And you'd saw it and you're like, I need to pray for so-and-so. So as I got older, it just got to be a habit. But I wanted to make something that was so beautiful that when someone looked at it, they were stunned by it, but it became that visual reminder to pray. And the more beautiful they could be, the better they are, really. I mean, we need to surround ourselves with beauty. I think every artist wants to say, I am an artist. This is what I do, not just, I teach and I do a little art on the side. It really was through the prayer jars and just the demand for those that made me realize that there could really be a market for that there was a need for prayer. And after about 4 years, it's been a slow growth because I was teaching art full-time at high school, and it was something I really loved to do, but I just really felt pulled in a different direction. That if God was speaking through me and constantly just filling my head with all of these ideas, that I was not satisfied until I could get that out of my head and make it happen and make it real, that I really had to focus on that. A lot of people are called to teaching. Teaching is a vocation, and it's what God calls them to do. And I always felt that as much as I love the kids, it wasn't necessarily what I was called to do. And they're that's when Thou Art Pottery just happened. I don't know how I don't know how I came to it. I don't know how I stumbled on that name, but it seemed right. It was kind of cute and kitschy, but it's grown. At Sacred Heart Church, if anybody ever goes into that church, every sculpture, every relief that you see has been in my studio at some point or another being restored. So the pottery is a small part of what I do, and I don't think I ever want to make it all of what I do, but like I said, I do about 100 jars a year right now, and I'm looking forward to do a lot more. I think when this season is over, I'm almost positive I'm over 500 so far, which is very encouraging. So right now I'm in the process of developing a new body of work for a show that I have coming up next October. And the focus of that show is going to be ritual and how important, I feel that ritual is so incredibly important in our daily life, in our prayer life. I think it's what most people are missing, is that idea of ritual. And so I would like to kind of bring that to life through these large 4 to 6 foot angels. And each one of these angels is going to be a light bearer, a torch bearer. They may have thuribles. They really will be functioning pieces that you would be able to burn incense through or to light as a light in your room. Holy water fonts, all the things that we go through just throughout our Mass that are so important that I think people would like to see. Something I've been thinking a lot about in the past few weeks, because we've just returned from our second trip to Italy, is just pondering and wondering why I have this insane need to create. And I can put myself right back to going to Mass as a child. And we had this precious little mission church that had an absolutely beautiful painting of the Assumption on one side and Jesus and Joseph on the other. Probably similar to what you'd see in most tiny little churches. But when you're a child, you're not always catching all the words, but it's about what you see. And I feel that I fell in love with these people because I could see the imagery. And I would like to continue to do that. I would like to create images that people fall in love with. As artists, we disappear, we go away. No one's ever gonna look at that picture and know who painted it. That's the best part. That's the humbling part. God speaks through you. You do His will, and then you go away and just let it grow.